guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled My Ex-Colleague's Entitled Wife Costs Him His Job and Their Marriage as Well. Backstory. My former colleague has had trouble keeping up at work, often missed his project's deadline, collaboration between mine and his team. Because he refused to stay back, wife didn't like him to do so and had more than once showed up unceremoniously at our workplace hurling insults and screaming for her husband to come home ASAP, to deliver any urgent project. Also for context, this isn't a common thing for us. Staying back after hours only happen when a project is due delivery and the company compensate, OT and meal allowances, us for the after hours. During company's dinner, she sarcastically said to me, "Oh, you're the other woman who is always on someone's husband's business." Just because a few weeks before that, I insisted for him to stay back and finish his part of the project, after his team leader didn't manage to do so and asked me for help. I shut her down as politely as I could and told him whatever relationship issues he has with her shouldn't be any of my problems. So I made a complaint to HR, and apparently this isn't the first complaint about his incompetence due to problems with the wife. HR is at their absolute limit this time. We are at year-end appraisal. I know it's weird, but it just so happened for this company. They do in November and we get our bonuses by end dec. And HR has been gathering not just his team, but also pretty much the entire company about his performance. While this is not a conglomerate, it's still a pretty solid 300 plus staffs. HR also tracks all his involvements in every project we have had this year to see if he had caused any blockage that led us to bleed money. Suffice to say, it's not looking very good for him. Due to this, he has caused 2 late deliveries and 1 client's refusal to renew a contract. The blockage from his side has also led to a high turnover for his team. 3 junior engineers left because they can't stand his work ethic, as they were the one who had to pick up his slack. So yeah, he was asked to leave. Well, story hasn't ended yet. The next week, the wife showed up at work causing ruckus, yelling and screaming, who made her husband lost his job. And she ran straight to the discussion room I was in, barged through and started calling me a colorful array of insults. Not only that, she tried to tackle me, but security did tackled her first LMAO. She destroyed a few office furniture during her rampage and slammed one of our interns' laptop on the floor. When they tell you no wrath like a woman's anger, well, this is the description for it. Police were called etc. and she was locked up. What I heard from other teammates is that the wife is the super jealous type and has been controlling his money as well. So when he broke the news, she pretty much got enraged that they're not going to be able to sustain their lavish lifestyle. Wife is a stay-at-home. Lucky thing is they have no kids. So now my ex-colleague went from just losing his job to being faced with charges of property destruction, possibly also looking at instant termination. Because he was there all along when his wife were yelling at everyone at the office. He was the one who tapped his access card and let her in. Yesterday a colleague told me he moved out of his marital home and is filing divorce from the wife. I guess years of encouraging his wife's entitled, controlling behavior is finally biting him back in the ass. The next story is titled Choosing Beggar Expects Free Art After Offering a Ride to Donate Blood Plasma. It has been a while since I thought of this story, but this seemed like a good place to share it. I spent my first semester in a community college with no dorms. I lived in the apartment complex across the street so I wouldn't have to worry about commutes. I'm an artist by trade, and I had become a member of the gamer club there to make friends and have something to do after classes. Times were a little tough on me at one point and I was contemplating donating plasma to get groceries and have a little fun money on hand. One of the club members, we can call him Jerry, offered to give me a ride to the clinic so we could go donate blood together. I thought it was sweet of him and took him up on his offer. We got to the clinic, both got $75 for donating plasma, and he dropped me off back at my apartment so I could rest. The next day, hanging out with my friends, I told them about what happened the other day and they all looked worried. They warned me that apparently Jerry had a reputation of doing things like that, but then expecting something in return. Like he would sometimes offer rides to McDonald's, but then he would expect the people he took to pay for his meal. I should have been a little smarter. A couple days later I get a message from Jerry on Facebook Messenger. The conversation went as follows. J equals Jerry. J. Hey Op. You said you do artwork, right? Op. Yeah, I take commissions. Why, what's up? J. Could you do a design for me for the back of a leather jacket? I want a skull, and a couple other things for the back. Here, I can give you some reference. Op. Oh, okay, neat. Yeah, this seems doable. Might take a bit because of exams, but a piece this intricate would be about $60. J. What, $60? I thought you would do this as a means to pay me back for the ride to the blood plasma clinic. Op. Why would I pay you back for something you offered to do without insinuating I would owe you after? You know I was doing that because I needed to get food. J. Come on, be a bro please? I'm begging here, I'll do $10. Op. I wouldn't have taken up your offer if I knew you were expecting something in return. J. Come on, I need this. Op. And I need to eat. Thanks for the ride, but I'm not doing this. We didn't talk much after this exchange. Later on down the line, the gamer club we were arranging to play Don't Starve together, and he expected somebody to buy the game for him so he could play. Not to mention he casually dropped the N-word regularly when he wasn't getting what he wanted. He was white, by the way. The next story is titled Am I the A-hole for ignoring the WA in the house my friends and I rent? My friends Jess, Megan, and I rent a house. We're all recent college graduates, young professionals, and we're decent roommates to each other and decent neighbors, as far as I can tell. The house we rent is part of a homeowners association, and the way the laws work is that the WA has a legal contract with the homeowner. And the homeowner who is leasing out a property has a legal contract with his tenants. But the WA has no authority over the tenants legally. It's on the landlord to include the WA rules in his lease with the tenants. Anyway, some of the WA rules were in the lease, like only having cars parked in the garage and driveway, none on the street. And like no political signage in the front yard. But there were relatively few. The lease was pretty much your standard lease. Anyway, neighbors have come over several times to tell us about WA laws we're breaking. Not just the same few neighbors, there have been like 8. For example, they said we could not have junker cars in the driveway, and I was like, it's not a junker, it runs, I drive it every day. Plus, you should be taking this stuff to landlord, he's the homeowner in your association. The guy went off on me about how having cars like mine around lowers the property value, and I was like, my agreement was with landlord. My lease says nothing about what cars I can have. They don't like how my roommate has astrology wall tapestries over the windows instead of curtains. Or how we have a fire pit outside. Or how many friends we have over even though we never break the rules about cars. Few of our friends drive. They told my roommate it's not allowed to do DIY projects like woodworking or car maintenance in the driveway. And told me about noise rules that do not line up with the city noise ordinance. They told my roommate her friends can't lock their bicycles up to the deck railing. Anyway, every time, we tell these people that their contract is with the homeowner. And our contract is with our landlord. We're following our contract, their contract is between them and landlord. And they've complained that the landlord is hard to get a reach of, he travels a lot, he's not communicative. And we are the ones living in the community, we need to follow its rules. Am I the a-hole for blowing all of them off? Comment said not the a-hole. You're absolutely right, your only obligation is to follow the rules of your contract with your landlord. If they have a problem with anything to do with the WA, and duck HOAs by the way, with a rusty crowbar, then they can take it up with the actual homeowner. Another comment said you the a-hole, though you're not legally in the wrong. Personally, I think HOAs are for Squidwards who hate everything. But you walked into their nest and started doing things they hate. Yes, if 8 separate people come up to you and tell you you're being an a-hole, you're being an a-hole. The next story is titled My Old Principal Broke My Inheritance Whistle. When I was a kid, I had this whistle that I got from my grandparents after they passed. I loved that whistle and wore it around my neck all the time. It was broken though, so it didn't make sound, but it looked cool to me. One day the principal saw it and demanded me to give it to him, so I didn't disturb class and other students with it. Even though I tried explaining it's broken, he took it from me. At the end of the day, I told my parents what happened, and they were angry, very angry. They drove me to the school again and demanded to see the principal. An hour later he showed up and my parents demanded the whistle back. He denied ever taking anything from me, but they called bullcrap and demanded it back or they would sue the school for inheritance theft. Still don't know what that means, and he groaned and went to his office to get it. When he gave it to me, I broke down crying. It was flattened like someone put something heavy on it, it was fully broke and falling apart in my hands. My parents were absolutely livid and sued him for theft and destruction of property. His lawyer met with my parents and our lawyer and asked to settle out of court for the cost to replace or repair it, and they eventually got money from them out of court. Not sure how much. The whistle unfortunately was broken beyond repair, but my uncle, who had a blacksmith hobby, said he could melt the metal to recreate a whistle. He said he doesn't know if it would work, but it would at least be made of the exact same metal of the other one. My parents agreed, and he melted down the broken metal and used some of the compensation money for some extra materials to make sure he could make the new whistle. Maybe 8 or 9 days later he came to me and gave me the whistle. I was so happy and didn't stop giving him the biggest hug. It still didn't work, but I was happy to have the whistle back again. The next story is titled Years Ago, Giving Rides to Choosy Beggar. This happened many years ago, but it still makes me laugh so very hard. I was hired to go back to a city I used to live in to help work on a show for a friend. It was a lightly paid gig and I liked this friend and the group that was working on it, so I said hey, why not? I lived a few hours away from the city and I had to drive myself. My friend asked if I could pick up a couple people on my way through another city. Totally fine. I texted the 2 people that I was on the way and I would be there at X time and to meet me where we arranged. I want to preface this by saying I smoked at the time. I know, and I did smoke in my own vehicle. So I get a call from Persona telling me they were so confused and thought we were driving down tomorrow. He was the MC for this event. I said no, it's always been today. And I have to be there a day early to figure out all I needed to do to make the show run smoothly. He then told me he needed some time to process this, and that he would call me back. I informed him that's fine, but I will still be leaving his city on time, so take that into consideration. Mind you, there is a bus that can go between cities. So he could also catch the bus. Longer ride, but can leave the day and time he wants to. I get to the meeting spot and he's there with person B. Cool. He gets in and is very standoffish. Whatever. We are ready to get going and person B hands me some cash for gas money. I thank him profusely and that's that. Person A is still quiet. I turn on some music as we get going, but person A doesn't like it, so requests we turn it off or we can all take turns playing music for the 2-hour drive, and I agree because honestly, who cares? It's not for that long. Then, I ask if they are okay if I have a smoke on the way. Neither of them say anything, so I light up, but I get glared at, so to keep the peace I don't do it again. I drop them both off where they are staying and go to my friend's house where I will be sleeping. I get a text from Persona about how embarrassed he is as he thought I was giving out free rides, so I should have made it clear I wanted gas money well before. He also didn't appreciate me smoking in my own vehicle, even though he said nothing at the time. Please note this man is a few years older than me and graduated college long before I did and had been working longer than me. He proceeded to tell me that he is very broke, and I could have confirmed that with him prior to the ride. I am also broke at this point? I didn't even offer this ride. My friend asked me to help out and I said okay cause it wasn't a big deal, and I never asked for gas money because it never occurred to me as I had to go through there anyways. I had no words. I showed my friend, who dealt with this guy himself, and I never saw him again. I definitely didn't give him a ride back. The next story is titled I Emptied Gas Points on a Shared Grocery Cart Account. I dated a girl since high school, and we were set to be married. However, things did not work out between us. We were amicable enough during the breakup until she started dating someone within hours. Pretty confident the dating started before, but what can I do? I asked her to move out and she complied. Again, no major issues. Since we were engaged, we previously opted to sign up together for a grocery store nearby that offered gas point discounts with every purchase. After the breakup and a year or two later, I still had the account card on my keychain although I had moved, and the nearest store wasn't worth going there, so I didn't add any points to the account since that time. One day, I happened to be at a gas station that used the points. For craps and giggles, I checked the points balance and lo and behold I had $1 plus off per gallon. This was 20-something years ago, so $1 plus was a lot. Gas was maybe 20 cents per gallon after the discount, and being young and low on cash, I applied the points and filled up my car. I felt somewhat bad about it, but at the same time, I felt some petty revenge for dumping me. Oh, and she broke up with me minutes before my birthday party. The next story is titled Tales from the Front Desk, The Suspicious. You're scamming me because this box has things written in Russian and Chinese, Karen. Good afternoon, my lovely wandering front desk worker fellows. I hope I find you well. Today, I'd like to share another rousing chapter from Tales of the Front Desk, a collection of stories that happened to me while working as a vet receptionist. I understand that some of you are wary of the fact that these aren't, in fact, hotel industry stories, and I surely don't wish to intrude upon anyone's space. I decided to post these here after reading the rules, because even though they aren't hotel industry related, they surely are reception front desk related, and I believe we all can relate in that regard. I will leave the judgment of whether these tales belong here to the mods, but I am thoroughly welcome to suggestions and comments, as I certainly don't wish to intrude in anyone's space. Today's story is a tale of suspicion, betrayal and a generous sprinkle of xenophobia to spice things up. Your racist uncle is about to get a little Seuss. I picked up the phone on a perfectly normal day, that can range anywhere between adorable puppies and unhinged chaos, and this time, it was a gentleman on the phone, with a very concerned query. He was a longtime client of ours, with a grumpy but cheeky personality. He proceeds to let me know that he was very disappointed with the last prescription shampoo we had prescribed for his dog's skin problems. It was clearly different and inferior quality from the one he used to use, as well as more expensive, and he wanted to go back to the previous one. Since I indeed saw two different named products on his file, I decided to put him on hold and quickly ask the vet why there had been a change in product and that the client wasn't happy with it. The vet quickly proceeded to explain to me that the shampoo was basically the same. The original one had been discontinued, and the new one that we stocked had the exact same ingredients, so technically it was the same prescription product under a different brand and different name. I went back on the phone and proceeded to explain this to the client, that the product was the same. No, it's not. No matter how many times I tried explaining to him this perfectly valid argument, which had been relayed to me directly by the vet a few minutes prior, he insisted that the products were not the same and I was trying to scam him by selling him a more expensive product that was clearly inferior quality, and he demanded the former product. The fact that it had been discontinued and we didn't sell it anymore wasn't an acceptable excuse in his eyes. He was outraged and demanded to speak directly with a vet, because he was absolutely sure that I was lying to him. The cherry on top of the cake was when he provided proof that he was right and, I quote, "It seems to me that you are trying to sell me an inferior product at a higher price. No, they are not the same, they have different boxes. And I know this one is inferior quality because it has instructions in Russian and Chinese." I was flabbergasted. I was, "Come again?" And he repeated that very same sentence. And he kept repeating his outrage over the instructions in Russian and Chinese. I asked if it had instructions in English as well, and of course did. But it was beside the point, because the box had been tainted by those pesky Russians and Chinese, and that meant inferior quality, for sure. It was the equivalent of accusing us, or me specifically, in this case, of selling prescription medication directly from AliExpress. I put him on hold again and walked once more to the vet in a state of, "So, I'm still on the phone with that guy and this a thing that is happening." The vet was dumbfounded that he was being not only extremely rude for accusing me of lying, but also for completely wasting her time and throwing a xenophobic temper tantrum on top of it. She went to have a word with him and, surprise, surprise, things got cleared out. He just needed to hear directly from the vet because, you know, RECEPCI on ISTs are a little Seuss and cannot be trusted. The kicker of this story? We went to check the box that had made him uncomfortable to the point of calling the vet and making this scene. It had instructions in foreign characters, yes. In Greek. Have a nice day, you all. Don't forget to hug your front desk workers and don't feed the Karens. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.